go. Recording.
Hello and welcome to Seen and Heard, a podcast about abuse on Heart Over Ego Radio. This is an exploration of domestic violence through raw, unfiltered, and important conversations about the realities of domestic abuse, the effects, the survival tactics, and the work being done all over the world to end abuse and more. Myself, Mandee Elam, Vanessa Hill, and Lexi Duquette are all childhood friends from Vermont. Life led us all on very different journeys. However, each of us has experienced abuse in some form. We chose to come together today to have a discussion around healing it. Welcome. How are you today, Vanessa?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing well. How are you today, Lex?
I am doing good.
Excellent.
Happy for our time. I look forward to this.
Me too.
Me
We're gonna
too.
have a beautiful episode today. Our last episode we recorded the day of the election, I believe. Now we're about a week out from that. So energies have been moving and shifting, and some people feel really at peace, some don't. But overall, things are, ebbing and flowing.
Yeah, I'm glad it's over and that we have a president, that we have a verdict.
We do. So we'll see how everything, moves along with all of that, because it does seem to be very back and forth and in the media. And actually, speaking of abuse, I might as well just tell this story. So I went to the beach a few days ago with some girlfriends, and one of them is a supporter of President Trump. And I'm very like live and let live. And I look at politics in like a really big picture. And I think that there's good guys in it and bad guys in it. And there's corruption weaved all through. And so when you go to the beach in Jersey, people bring flags. Like they bring their flags to the beach. It's like a thing. So all summer I saw all kinds of Biden flags and all kinds of Trump flags. And so one of my friends brought a Trump flag and like kind of set it up near our spot. And it wasn't super high. It was like kind of low, and everybody was at peace. And like a lot of people walked by and like winked and nod. Some people walked by and looked away. Mostly like it really didn't affect a lot of people until like a half hour after we were there. I went for a walk, and one of the girls stayed alone. Actually, three of us went for a walk, and one of them stayed over at our little spot. And a surfer came out of the water and attacked her and said that you're not supposed to bring politics to the beach, and this is the place everybody comes to relax, and she ruined his day and all this stuff. And then we came back and she told us about it, and he came back out of the water and started yelling at us saying, you need to go to the gym, because we're like, I'm overweight. I'm not going to speak for the other women, but I'm definitely overweight. And he's like, the gyms are open, take your flag to the gym and fly it there. It seems like you need to work out anyway. And like would not stop attacking. And so none of us said anything. We all just like sat in peace. And my friend who brought the flag, like that wasn't her intention. She's a really like spiritual person. And she just thought like, oh, I thought the beach was like a safe place to like fly my flag, and things might be recounted right now. And like, it wasn't my intention to cause harm. And I was like, well, every single person gets to choose their actions and their reactions. So the guy didn't have to be a crazy surfer surfing, staring at us, getting mad at us for being fat or having a flat Trump flag or whatever it is. I'm like, every single place I go in public, I see a Trump flag or a Biden flag or this flag or that flag. And like, I get to choose my reaction to that. So it was really, really fascinating how it all went down.
Okay, I have a question.
Yeah.
What kind of flag was it? Like
it was just the normal like Trump 2020 flag.
Like the paper ones that you put on your lawn?
Well, like a real flag that you put on your lawn.
Like a cloth flag.
Yeah, it was probably like 3 feet or 4 feet or something.
Well, that surfer sounds like a very fat phobic, sensitive man, baby. And that is insane that he would attack you and then tell you guys to go to the gym. Like, what an asshole.
Well, that's because that's all the ammo he had. And it was really interesting because then a few other surfers came over and told him to knock it off. And then there were three ladies in masks who came over and started trying to like make fun of us while they were wearing their masks at the beach.
Make fun of you for
having the Trump flag. I was like, I wish I had a fucking camera today. Like, this is wild. Like, I was expecting, maybe we get a couple dirty looks. Like, people really hate Trump, whatever, but for me, I'm like, whatever. I live and let live. I don't give a shit if you have your little flag. You've been taken to the beach all summer. So like, for me, it didn't bother me at all. And I was so surprised to see that kind of effect. And then as we were leaving, one other guy who was kind of sitting towards the back, he's like, yeah, take your souvenir home, because it's over. The election's over. So go and hang that up on your wall. And then he started like kind of cursing under his breath, but I couldn't tell what he was saying. I was like, wow. And I've hung out with I have a lot of really liberal friends, and I've been on the Biden side. And like, it's just so crazy because, yeah, like most people don't like President Trump. Even if they voted for him, they don't like him. But it's just so sad that people get so emotionally charged around just a flag or that symbol that they think they can go and attack other people.
I am so dying to say something here.
Say it, girl.
Has anybody watched The Creepy Line? I feel like this documentary, The Creepy Line on Amazon Prime, totally nails the situation we have at hand. This documentary was made like back in 2017, 2018. And it's more so like exposing, like, oh, people have got to watch it because I want to be able to have a conversation about this. And it talks about how like the social media, how it has a play on like society's feelings and like how they play it up, and like it's so not mind blowing, like it is mind blowing, I think, because it talks about crossing like certain lines of like spying on the people and like what Google and like all of these social media apps are allowed to do and like what they're tapping into, and how somebody's sitting in a room deciding how they want people to feel about something, blocking certain things and only allowing, what they want to be shown. It was just such a good documentary, and I feel like it is, it's proven itself right now in time, the way that the society is with this election and how it's going. And, everyone's just like, there's this division. This is not our first election, okay? This is not the first time that we've had Republicans, Democrats, liberals all voting. Right. And it's like, why is there so much hatred and anger right now? And it's all towards this one man. And I mean, to me, I am like that type of person where it's like, there's so many moving parts for politics and the government that I can't blame just one single person. Okay. I understand people don't like him for his personality, but I mean, honestly, I feel like what he's done some good things. I don't like his personality. No, he thinks he can be rude and crude and stuff and inappropriate, but I do, what he's passed, I think he's done some good stuff. And I feel like people can't admit that because they just have so much hate towards him. Hate's a strong emotion. Hate is like that emotion. And like, I feel like everybody's just so gung-ho on hating him. And they can't look at anything else. They can't see who they're voting in or who, you know what I mean? It's just a strong, they have to hate one person and blame. And I just like this documentary, it makes me, I see such a connection. You guys have to watch it and tell me what you think, because I'd love to have a conversation on this.
I would love to. I've been hearing a lot about that sort of stuff. I've been reading articles on it, and we're absolutely swayed. And that's the thing. I was, I'll be totally honest. In 2016, I was a Bernie supporter. I had always been an independent my whole life. Growing up in Vermont, I was able to see Bernie speak at our high school and different things. And like, it just was really interesting because, when I moved to Colorado, I had to switch to Democratic Party to vote for Bernie in the primary. And then when Bernie didn't get elected in the primary and Hillary got the nominee, I just remember being like so sad and disappointed. And he showed up with a black eye. And I'm like, something's not right. And then Trump kind of came out of nowhere, and never in my life have I seen the media act the way they do about one individual, because Trump was always kind of like, I don't know, kind of a man's man, and kind of like, people liked him for his business stuff, and he was a reality TV show and all of that. But then it was just so fascinating how much the media stopped being unbiased and became so biased, and people are, crying all the time on air and all this stuff. And like, that has an emotional impact on people. And there's a reason why back in the day, journalists were taught to be unbiased and to deliver information in a more neutral way. And it seems like that doesn't really even exist anymore. And then now, like, whatever side you're kind of on or lean towards, then you go with that media programming, because then you connect in with whoever that person is sharing the information or sharing their feelings or opinions about it. So now it's like, we've lost neutrality in so many ways. And that doesn't mean that, Trump's a really good person or this or that, but I think it's just it's just sad that we've allowed ourselves to get that angry and to act that way towards an individual, because that's not helping us heal. It's creating more division.
Exactly. And I feel like the anger, I feel like it's there's somebody behind that, this, like somebody is trying to hide something else. It feels like it's, they're trying to put the spotlight on something else to, like, I don't know. It just feels so shady to me. My intuition is like, something is up. This is shady. Like, I don't know. People are gonna think I'm a crazy conspiracy theorist, but it feels, my gut tells me something, that we're missing something here. They have us so wrapped up in this division, that there's something else going on that they don't want us to see. Or
well, that's how I feel. I feel that way very much. And like, I also think there's truths to things, and then there's not truths to things. And I think the media and the higher ups at B, we only get to be shown what they want us to see and hear what they want us to hear in a lot of ways sometimes.
I was definitely convinced that I don't want Trump to be president by the things he said. I didn't need anyone to frame it for me. I mean, the man wouldn't even denounce white supremacy during the debate. So I'm kind of on the other side of things. I think he represents hatred for a lot of people. And he has really massive personality flaws that don't make him a good leader. And I think, I have Trump supporters in my life who are very important to me and who I love, family members, friends. I would never, I would never tell another person they can't support Trump or that their feelings are invalid. But I do think it's a little aggressive to like bring a flag to the beach, and in the midst of an election where like he clearly lost and is now, claiming that there's like this widespread voter fraud. He's just being a sore loser, and he's acting like the dictator that he started to become. And I think that's triggering for some people. I don't think it's cool at all that surfer attacked you guys. Like, that's insane. Or that, people were making fun of you and like publicly kind of giving you a lashing. But I understand the sentiment behind it and the motivation to be like, especially as a woman, I will never understand why a woman would like fly a Trump flag. Me personally, it's very problematic for me. So maybe I'm on the other end of things, but
which you're so allowed to be.
Yeah.
And like, that's the thing. It's like, I feel so fortunate because I see everyone. I'm lucky to see so many people's light, and I see, why they feel the way they do about everything. And for me, Trump's someone who my dad worked with him when I was a kid, and it's somebody who I hated like my whole life. And so for me, I just had to let go of hate in general. And this was a catalyst for growth for me to do that. And it doesn't mean I think what he says or has done is acceptable. However, I'm in the healing and forgiveness industry, and it doesn't, it's really hard because it's a really hard thing. And what I see when I zoom out of it, though, is just the fact that, Trump represents hate, but then people allow the hate to get evoked out of themselves and act just like he does in so many ways often. And so that's the part that I look at, and I'm like, why can't you guys take a step back and look at this? If this guy mirrors so much hate, then why can't you say, okay, that's it. I'm done. I forgive this. I'm going to step away. Doesn't mean I support him. Doesn't mean I like him. Doesn't mean I'm going to vote for him. But man, I can put down the hate and maybe send some love or some healing so that we can change that energy, because the hate that he represents or is putting out there, and it's the people respond to it and then act upon it often. And it's true. Like when I see this whole big divide, I see it's more like the people versus the corruption to me. And like, some people are liberals and some people are conservatives. And I don't see the conservatives, if this whole thing, Biden's president now. Okay. So I don't see the conservatives going and shooting liberal people because Biden's president. If anything, I see like, if there were to be an attack, then like the conservative people with their guns would like protect the liberal people, and the liberal people with their emotional skills or their hearts or their whatever, you know, is going to be able to fill in the gaps the other way. So I see us as a strong people, even though we're divided right now. And like, I'm not someone who's like really into guns, but if something were to go down, like I'm glad my next door neighbor has them, because I'd be like, all right, cool. Like I'm protected. Like I'm fine. I can make some fucking dinner for everybody. Like I look at it in a really different way than a lot of people. And it just makes me sad how divisive this has gotten and how much hate and anger has come out of it as a result of it. And I don't like, you know, a lot of the times people say, you know, if you vote for Trump, that you're a racist and whatnot, because I don't believe that. I believe some people are, absolutely, but a lot of the people I know and love, I don't believe that way. And I know lesbians who have voted for Trump. I know Black people who have, and I know a lot of Biden supporters who just want the highest person to be there to help. So it's a hard thing, and there's a lot of emotions coming up from it. But what I do know on a big collective level is that triggers are catalysts for growth and for healing. And if something's triggering you, like this hate, it's because that hate is getting ready to be released or be let go of. So as much as it's, you know, kind of crazy out there and lots of people are dealing with abuse in different ways, I just want everyone to know that it's all okay and it's all safe. And that as long as you're tuning into your heart and you want to get to a point where, you know, we're creating more peace and you keep that in your heart, then that's the most important. If you cause intentional harm, then we got to talk. But yeah, it's not an easy thing, sisters, at all. And Vanessa, I honor you and your opinion and your family members who oppose them or whoever, you know, same with everybody.
There are no Trump supporters that are in my life that are racist or homophobic or xenophobic. You know, many of them are just like one issue voters, and they're concerned about the economy, and they feel more aligned or felt more aligned with his economic policies. But there are also a lot of people who I think he made feel like it's okay, it's not your fault. There was this, like, I think the far left kind of created this environment of, if you're a white straight man, everything is your fault. You know, everything is on you. You're inherently racist. You're inherently sexist. And I think there are people that felt like he kind of swooped in and he was like, it's not your fault. You're the best. You're fine. And we're going to do this. And I think it worked on certain people in my life, convincing them that like, it's okay to not apologize for things that you didn't think you needed to apologize for. And I understand that to some extent. But again, a surfer emerging out of the water and screaming at you and your friends is bananas.
I have heard so many cases of fighting, so many to the point where I'm afraid to talk about politics. I'm afraid. And my biggest thing is I feel like it's so sad that two sides cannot respect each other enough, and instead are like, I can't associate with you if you did this. And I just feel like that's such a big, you know, because here the other side sees Kamala and Biden as like, you know, inviting in big pharma and a pedophile. I feel like they have valid feelings. I feel like both sides need to be like, okay, you know, you have your beliefs for your reasons, I have mine for mine. And not like, it's so harsh right now, you know what I mean? It's so harsh that friends, there's so many fights, like friends are ending friendships and not talking to people over this one issue in such a great big world of so many more issues.
But I think like, you know, if you're gay and your friend or family member is going to vote for Trump Pence when, you know, Mike Pence believes in gay conversion therapy and like hates gay people, that, I mean, I understand why a gay person would be like, why are you like, why? Yeah. I mean, that's like the most simplistic way to put it, but I understand why this was a very like divisive election.
Here's the other thing. I feel like when it comes to politics right now, people are bringing up like personal. I mean, I don't know when we've ever really, truly, honestly, ever anybody in politics or had anybody. I feel like the majority of people in politics and presidents have never fully been morally, you know, amazing. They all have, You know, everybody's flawed anyways, and to be picking it apart, it's like one of those things where it's like, if that's going to be the issue, then we need some other like runners up. I feel like across the board there wasn't any good options. Like I feel like we need to like kind of, I don't know, we need more people to stand up than, you know, instead of bitching about the other side. Like, find that person to stand up that is, you know, instead of these crooked people. It's like, you know, evil versus evil. I literally feel like there's no good option. I mean, I was ready to vote for Kanye at this point, so I'm like, you know what? Why not? Let's throw this into the mix. There's, you know.
But I agree, Lex. Like, we as a people, we're better than this, and that's what I'm saying.
Exactly.
I see we as a people rising up together. I see Trump supporters and the Democrats coming together, because the Republicans and Democrats coming together, because we have to, if we want to ascend. And what it comes down to is we're learning that, you know, we've all been screwed over, whether it was by big pharma or the housing collapse or finances. We're learning that business isn't just business. Business is personal, and it messes with people's livelihoods. And like, we are a people. And so there's been a lot. But what I want to segue into is we're going to talk about some emotional abuse kind of stuff on today's episode. And so what I wanted to say before is, like, I felt like the way in politics that we, you know, if you're not on the liberal side, then you're a racist or homophobic. I feel like that's emotional abuse, and that happens in order to make people swing votes. And I don't, like, even in my industry, like, I'm very careful with how I advertise or things, because I'm so sick of advertising being just based on manipulation and manipulating people's emotions. And so they're like, oh, well, if I call them a racist, then they'll definitely say, oh, I'm not a racist, so they'll vote on this side. And like, I'm so over that part. And that's what I see we as a people starting to notice. And I think we're going to start changing that as we all grow together. And like, you know, there's always going to be conservatives and liberals in every family. And there's always going to be this divide until we start to work together.
I think too, though, there's a line where, you know, if I point out that you're supporting a candidate who has, you know, racist tendencies or racist policies, that's just a conversation. And that's really all we have. We have to be able to have those conversations. It doesn't, you know, it's not necessary. We don't necessarily go into the emotional abuse land just because people are pointing out things to each other.
Yeah, not everybody does, but some people do. Mm-hmm. And a lot of people do. And then it's targeted by, you know, whoever's in charge of these advertising campaigns and whatnot. Like, that's the whole point, is to target an emotional trigger on people to get them to sway a different way, whether it's the election or just advertising in general, marketing. That's like what we've based our society on, these emotional triggers. And it's all coming to a head now. It's all very interesting, but I agree. And I just invite everyone to breathe before they respond, and to try to see, you know, from the other person's side a little bit. You know, like, I was very open to having discussions this year with, like, there's a whole group I know that are like lesbians for Trump, and I was very open to hearing their perspective, because you know, like, you don't get to hear about that very much. And
that's so like mind blowing to me.
I
can't believe there's a group called Lesbians for Trump.
There is, and actually a lot of them are just
why.
So, you know, and that's the thing. If we invite in different conversations or different perspectives, it's fascinating, the things that you can learn. So,
yeah. So what did they tell you? Like, why are they for Trump? Do you remember?
Well, a lot of it's business related. I don't know, but maybe we can get one on the show or something.
Yeah, I would love to. I'd love to.
That'd be cool. Because I don't want to speak on behalf, you know?
Right.
Speak on behalf. And I'm not even fully for Trump. I'm very kind of indifferent in this. I was very for weed being legalized in Jersey this election, and we got that. So
yeah, that's amazing.
Congrats. I know. All right. So let's segue into emotional abuse. Vanessa, you're going to kick us off with a little something.
Yeah. I mean, I was in doing some prep for this episode, I came across this article about how emotional abuse in childhood can actually alter your brain structure and function. Not that that's surprising or anything, but I guess I never really thought about that. And I think we kind of feel like kids can kind of pick themselves up and, focus on other things, or we can explain things to them and make them feel better about things. But early life adversity is really damaging to a child. And this article just goes on to explain that it can increase mortality and morbidity in adulthood. It just, the impacts, I guess, are more significant than previously thought.
Oh, absolutely. May I share about that for 1 sec?
Yeah.
So the first 7 years of our lives are the most crucial and developmental. The first year is the most important in how you were parented. There's actually a whole theory called the attachment theory that talks about how our subconscious learns how to parent the first year of life. And then we remember how to parent the same exact way we were parented. And this is where you can get like secure attachments, avoidant attachments, anxious avoidant attachments. There's like 4 to 6 of them. But it's fascinating because it's a program. Whatever you're programmed to learn at that time within your first 7 years sets you up for the rest of your life. And then same with that first year, and how you were loved and held and cared for is how you show up in your romantic relationships later on in life. And just a lot of your other relationships in general. And it's quite fascinating. So I'm glad you're bringing that up because it really is that crucial.
Yeah. I mean, for me with my daughter, she's almost 4. I am so concerned about it. I probably don't even need to be. I'm so over the top loving to her, like verbally, especially. I really try to give her like affirmations every day. And I'll, at least once a day, I'll like be like, hey, let's have a little chat, and I'll, put her on my lap and just explain to her how much I love her and why I love her so much and why I'm so proud of her. She's like, you're like, why? Like, I just like built a Lego thing. Like, what's like, she's just like, thanks for being proud of me, Mom, for me just being a 3-year-old. But it's like, it's so important.
So important.
I actually, that's what I'm doing right now. I'm on session 5 of 6, and I am a parent ambassador with Building Bright Futures Vermont. And we are doing a parenting, the basics parenting workshop. We're hosting a 6-week section, and the basics is like promoting that the first 3 years of a child's life, like just how much that's 80% of their brain development happens in those first 3 years, and how crucial it is, and like it's the ways to nurture this, the different the different sections of the brain, and the different ways to like really maximize this for your child. And it's so amazing because here, sometimes you think, okay, baby talk to a baby, and like, do they hear you? Do they understand you? And it's like all these little things really truly matter and add up to them. What they feel, what you feel. I just watched this whole entire training on how a parent's stress level affects the child, and how you handle a situation as a parent affects the child in the different ways that it affects their brain, and it totally will defer their brain development and cause secondary issues. So it's such a crucial time. It's crazy.
Mm-hmm. This article was also talking about how childhood emotional abuse is strongly linked to suicide in adulthood.
You know why? Because of everything you just described, how you sit down and you consciously talk to your daughter and you give her positive affirmations changes everything. The story that we tell ourselves inside of our head is what we create in our realities each and every day. And it's because of our belief systems. And if we grew up in a society or a family or just a place where we decided that we're not good enough, that we're not worthy, that we hate ourselves, that we loathe ourselves, which most people do, because that, I believe, was intentionally designed again by the hires that be, and it's in advertising and commercials and everything that we do. We're taught to hate ourselves, and guilt, shame, fear, and criticism are of the lowest frequencies that we can vibrationally feel. And this is measured by science now as we're entering this beautiful new chapter of science and spirituality merging. But it's so incredibly important. And when you have that conversation going on in your head all the time, telling you negative affirmations that you're worthless and you're, not worth taking up space, and that happens, then suicide really increases. And we see it in men more because they have still, as we're healing from all of these patriarchal wounds, the women kind of got to start to heal first, and the men are just starting to be able to heal from it now. And we've all been victims of it. And it's a huge thing. And it's so important to discuss, Vanessa. And I'm glad you're bringing it up.
Yeah. Well, and we were talking about recently about this idea that the whole like boys aren't allowed to cry thing is really damaging. I think
Yeah.
And how the toxic masculinity.
Well, they say like, what is it's a ridiculously high percentage of men or boys who were abused or verbally abusive as a child are, they repeat what they learned as a child.
Right. Yeah.
That's it, because they were programmed to.
I feel though like my whole childhood I was not allowed to cry also.
Okay.
Maybe that's why I have anger issues. I just feel like you keep it pent up for so long. And
well, that's just it. It becomes normal.
Yeah.
But yes, not being allowed to cry, whether it's you or someone listening, can definitely, create some impactful energy within your vessel. So yeah, being angry all the time or other things, it can definitely come out. Anger just covers up hurt. So if you weren't able to cry, then yeah, you're going to be really freaking angry.
Yeah. And you don't have the coping skills, or you haven't developed the coping skills.
Or you had them and then you were told they weren't acceptable.
Right.
You stopped it. So then you got to reprogram it. It takes 14 to 21 days to start to change a habit. So then you got to reprogram it, saying it's safe for me to cry. I'm allowed to feel my feelings. When something comes up, I can honor it and feel it in the moment. Or if it can't, because we're still in our, weird society, and you're at work and something happens and you can't cry right then, it's important to that night or the next morning to sit with it, meditate about it, allow yourself to cry about it, journal about it if the feeling passed, so that you do release it. That's the conscious work everyone talks about. It's honoring your true, authentic feelings and emotions as they rise.
It's not an easy thing. And that male ego sometimes just,
Well, the men, I feel like, and I got to give the men a shout out, because I feel like the men were just as much of victims as the patriarchy as women were, if not more. We all were. And it was this society that was created that told, the women, they had to be subservient, and the men, they weren't allowed to feel or have emotions. And it's not the case. Every single human has divine masculine and feminine energies running within them. And it's so important that we start to balance them. And that's what we've been seeing over the past 30 years. And really, like, we're just in the very beginning of this healing process. And as much as, and that's the other thing, like when Trump got elected, for me, I was like, well, this is a catalyst for healing. Like, show us, what we've gotten to as a society so that we can heal it. And what we're seeing is people don't want that to be the representation of the people. And, it's getting divisive, but overall, I see that we're going to break this down and we're going to start to heal, because it comes down into individuals and into families. And just like you're talking about, Vanessa, you want to make a change. You want your daughter to have a really good program running inside of her head that makes her feel loved and worthy and valued and important and needed in this world, because so many of us don't. And it's not our faults, and it's not our parents' faults. It's society's faults for what they've conditioned and put in our heads, and what everybody has learned. But we can unlearn it just as we've learned it.
And I feel like science plays a huge effect in this too. Like, I can't help but bring up, there are some books that as a boy mom, I swear by. And it's Bringing Up Boys, Practical Advice and Encouragement for Those Shaping the Next Generation of Men. And Raising Boys, Why Boys Are Different and How to Help Them Become Happy and Well-Balanced Men. And I feel like a huge part of these books is that scientific base on how their brain works. Men and women's brains do work and function differently. It is a challenge for men for certain emotional, things, especially with what's been ingrained. So I feel like it's a beautiful thing that's happening right now, because I feel like so many people are waking up to this and really, caring about how they're raising and how they are treating their men. There's a book, The Man Whisperer, that I swear by. And again, it's just helping women understand how different a man's brain truly works. And that, that it's science, it's scientifically wired differently.
Yeah, I definitely want to explore that more. That's really interesting.
I know. Maybe take a picture and post it on the page for resources, Lex, of those books.
Yeah.
I will do that, because I have this collection and I don't know why, I get really excited about this topic. When I first got pregnant, I was in school essentially for nursing, and I was taking child growth and development and human growth and development. I was, interested in learning about what I was going through and what I was getting ready for, going to be a boy mom. And it was like divine timing and intervention. And I learned so much. And there's things that, like, as a parent, I look at my husband and the struggles I have with him. I look at past relationships with men, and it's so funny, because years ago there was that book, Men Are From Mars, Women Are From Venus. I never read it. I just remember hearing so much about it. It was like big when I was little. I don't know if you girls ever had heard of it or read it, but
yeah, there was a copy of that in my childhood home for sure.
Yes, and it's truly like one of those things where they are different. And I feel like our generation is the generation that's willing to explore and learn about each other and encourage this. In the past, it was, those expectations on our parents and our grandparents were real. Back then, it was, you don't cry. You get the belt if you do this. And, the wife's role. Like, my grandmother was going to be a nurse, or she was a nurse, but as soon as she had kids, it was homemaking and, all of these things. And this generation, I feel like, to be very lucky if we all, do our research and learn and try to heal our past ingrained wounds. I remember it was traumatizing to see my dad mad. I remember how scared I was. And nowadays, my husband, he like never gets like angry. He's like always the nice guy to the kids. I'm like, we need them to be afraid. We're being pushovers. And we both talked about how, like, well, we both had, like, I would call it emotional abuse in a way. At one point in our life in childhood, we want to protect our kids from that. Now we're overprotecting them. So I don't know. I went off on a
I loved your tangent, and it was really in alignment with a suicide article that I was listening to. Actually, it was a story I was listening to. Had an article too, but I watched the video anyway, and it talked about this stuck trauma that this one man was feeling, because he's like, 80% of the time my dad was great and it was amazing, but then there were the times where he was in a bad mood and he'd come home and like sometimes he would hit us, but mostly he wouldn't, but we were always afraid he would because of his mood and his energy and what was coming in. And that's so much of what you were just describing too, and that's something that gets held as trauma in so many individuals.
Yeah, I mean, my dad is in his 60s, and I feel like he's just starting to like be okay with the fact that it's okay to express your emotions. Like, aside from like happiness or anger, like it's okay to express sadness. Just that generational curse.
Yeah, they weren't allowed to.
Yeah. Yeah, my brother and I like completely accidentally hurt his feelings a few years ago. And when he sat us down to talk about it after my stepmother really had to encourage him, it was like he was telling us that he had a terminal illness. It was so difficult for him to get out. Like, you have hurt me. You have made me feel sad by something you two did. We were sitting there like, Dad, just say it. It's okay. It's okay to be sad. It's okay to like cry, We're sorry. We didn't mean to hurt your feelings. It's not a big deal. Like, it's not a big deal for you to tell us. But it's that, it must be that holding everything in, and as a man feeling like you can't share that part of you.
You weren't allowed to. And especially with
Yeah.
the whole patriarchy and business being paired with it, like you manned up and you dealt with it and you didn't, express your feelings ever. But that, if we hold that in our body, and I know I'm lucky enough to know your dad and your stepmom, and your stepmom and I align a lot on some similar views with holding energies in your body, because it creates illness and disease within you. And so the fact that your dad was able to do that is so alchemizing and so beautiful. And it breaks energetic chains in your family, and hopefully he'll start getting easier, and he's got a granddaughter. So granddaughters help to soften grandfathers as they ascend and grow a little. And I see us as a people getting softer. And even with the crazy surfer yesterday attacking us, I saw him, I was like, let him come back again. Like if we didn't have to go, because we had to go, I was like, I want to invite him in for like a peace talk. Like, because he just kept coming and making these laps and catching him to a couple waves and then coming and yelling and catching a couple waves and coming and yelling.
Like, what the hell?
He's gonna get tired. He's like on a hamster wheel, and I've worked with the homeless. I've worked with a lot of different populations that kind of get like that. And like, all I see is this guy's heart breaking open. I'm like, and it's about so many other things than just this, but money, for me, I mean, I was able to shield my energy, not take it too personally, observe what was happening. And it was all very fascinating. So anyway, I digress.
I feel like people have anger that they need to release, and Trump is like that, giving them an outlet for releasing the anger starts a process. Is that crazy? So when somebody is enraged, I'm like, let it out. I see my mom get enraged about things. I'm like, let it out, because you're repressing so much. And like my parents' generation was like to repress emotions. Don't show that. Don't show signs of weakness. Stay strong. You know what I mean? Process it privately. Don't discuss it. And I feel like it's like that safe excuse, or not that safe, but it's like a outlet for all this anger and rage. And I hope it opens up a lot of growth. It's always darkest before the light. So
I guess we can thank him for that.
That's what I was trying to say earlier. Like, he's a catalyst for the mirror, whether you know of what you don't want to be sometimes, or the energies you don't want coming out of you. Because I realized I'm just jumping in on all this hate, and I don't need to be carrying hate in my body.
Exactly.
I can disagree with you, but I don't have to carry that hate. Yeah. And if I can say that it is not fucking okay to be racist or to rape somebody or this or that, and I can have a firm authority, but not hold the hate and let that hurt my body, because when we hold those energies in our body, it creates, trauma to us.
Amen. And I gotta say, Vanessa, hearing about your father, that is like amazing and beautiful, because I'm struggling with mine. I'm in this opposite end where I thought my dad, he in the beginning with the first grandchild, like was turning into his father, who was like the ultimate grandfather. And my dad always has this saying, like, what would Papa Dave do? What would his dad do? His dad was a stand-up, amazing guy, great father, great grandfather, great husband. He's a good person overall. And my dad has allowed hate and anger and resentment, and he like just loathes himself. And like, it's so sad, because he's gotten to be so old and angry and bitter. And I feel like his life is so beautiful. And like, he's done, I don't know, it's the alcohol too. Alcohol plays a nasty effect.
Yeah. There's probably a lot at play there.
But I would do anything for my dad to have that, like, just a little bit more.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like, it was hard, but it's good. And, it's only gotten better since then. That was a few years ago. So chipping away at that hard exterior.
Well, how beautiful. And I think that's a beautiful place to end our episode today. I got to run, and you ladies have things going, but sending love to everyone, and especially the masculine, because the feminines had a little bit more of a chance to start healing, and now the masculine's going to get to also. And so, when it comes down to it, no matter how angry you are, if you can take a couple breaths and breathe, center back into your heart, it makes a big difference. And you are loved, and you are worthy, and you are worth being here.
Namaste. No, just kidding.
Love you guys. This is Heart Over Ego Radio. Please like us, follow us, subscribe us. You can find us on YouTube, Facebook, on Instagram. We also have a Seen and Heard podcast page on both Instagram and Facebook, as well as Seen and Heard podcast at Gmail. Please reach out to us. We would love for you to share your stories of abuse or your insight, or if you just want to jam with us. So reach out. We'd love to have you on as a guest. Lexi, Vanessa, I honor you both so much, and I'm so grateful for you and this project.
You too, girl. See you later.
Bye-bye.
Bye.